Awake living into uncharted territory together, accelerating your wellness path, plus your interconnectivity at the same time. It's not your grandma's or your Veda, but it kind of is. It's the Yoga Healer Real Life Show with Kate Tillman.
Hello, it's Kate, and welcome to the Yoga Healer podcast. Today is a Dharma and Dollar show. On today's show is Peira Moinester of Brooklyn Music Factory. Born and bred in Brooklyn, raised in a family of educators, Peira began making music and working with kids for over 20 years. And she joined up with Nate Shaw, and I know these guys from a business training we're both in, and I just love their company, Brooklyn Music Factory, and Big Music Games. And it's so cool what they do. They basically teach kids music with a game-based approach. You're going to hear all about it. And the reason I wanted Peira to come on the show and talk about this is my sense is there's so much changing in education these days, especially as we learn like what we like and what works, especially what works in families. And so I hope you just kind of listen with a mind of how can I apply a more game-based approach to whatever I'm trying to do in my life next. All right, on with the show. Today's show is brought to you by my Healthier Kids Workshop, which you can find at yogahealer.com/healthier-kids. I want to give you a back to school tip. One is just to keep your kids' skin lubricated, and don't do that with lotion because lotion's pretty much toxic. Do it with oil. So after your kid takes a bath or a shower, use a light amount of oil and rub it into their skin, lay them down in a towel. More tips coming up in the show. It's Kate, and I'm here with Peira of Brooklyn Music Factory. I've tried to get you and Nate on this show for maybe, 8 months or for as long as I've known you. And you guys help kids learn music and families get into music and do all sorts of lessons and camps. And you're based in Brooklyn and you're going online and it's all so exciting. So let's just really just start by dialing into the importance of music in the household, especially with young children.
Okay. Shall I go now?
Yep, you should go. Yeah, we can tag team. High five. We're doing this live, or we're doing this together. Present. We're not doing Skype or Zoom, it's just so fun to do this in the flesh.
Listen, music is the thing I remember from growing up in public school, in camp. It's the thing that impacted me the most. But the way I learned it was not fun. I would sit in the dark, totally exactly what you imagine, dark, damp room, doing scales on the piano. The learning part of it didn't feel enjoyable to me, and I totally, as a result, rejected the learning part of it. And when I became a music teacher as an adult, I realized that the way that you need to learn needs to be fun, and that there's nothing wrong with that. And actually, fun is a tool for learning. It's not even, people hear the word fun and they get worried, like, well, they're really going to learn something, right? And
the answer is yes, which is why work like from Jane McGonigal of Superbud, it's like if you turn something into a game, yes, it's how we learn faster.
It's the thing that motivates, because if it feels good to you, you're going to want to do it more. So if you want to do it more, then that's how you will really learn and grow and be a musician for life. I don't know if that really answered your question, but
yeah, well, it does. And so with I know, right? We're kind of sort of brain dead after being in a training for 2 days on how to lead and hire. And oh my gosh, Yeah, so let's talk about your approach then at Brooklyn Music Factory and some of the and even more so than your approach, like what works, like what are you guys doing, like what are the benefits to someone who like signs up with y'all and does lessons and goes to camp?
In the actual classroom, what works is games. A teacher will come to me and say, I can't get everyone's attention. There's lack of focus, or this kid's doing this kid's doing that. I come in and I see they're not implementing the games. I say the games are your secret to the success. There's a reason for the games. And so in the classroom,
because all those teachers grew up without learning the games, and so it's they default back to the way they learned, which is totally talking too much.
Exactly. I honestly barely talk when I teach. I only say what's necessary. I mean, kids will come into my classroom and I'll just start playing the drum, you know, and they just will start communicating musically.
What's that like? Say more about that.
Like, they come in and I just start playing a beat, and I give them all a drum without even saying anything. Like
it's set up so they can just walk in and
we
they
have
go
a drum
to
circle. You know, we have 3 different zones.
Yep.
And so it's drum circle, rock pit, which is like the movement area, and then the bandstand, which is actually an instrument. They strap on an instrument. And every class starts with a drum circle.
Oh.
So they come in and, you know, it's let's start communicating this way. Let's start communicating with music. And they get it. And it puts them in a space. They understand the space that they're in now.
Do the younger kids get it faster than the older kids because there's like less programming?
It's interesting. How old are you talking about?
You tell me.
Because I will tell you, I've played games with adults, and it works. As long as you do it right. I mean, sometimes with the teenagers, I don't call them games, I call them exercises. So I call them something. There's always that sort of preteen-ish age where there's the awkward, there's the self-consciousness. It's a hump in education. If you can get them over that hump, you know,
they open up
to
again.
The other side. Yeah. Oftentimes that hump is when kids maybe will start pulling away, maybe not want to take lessons. They want to, you know. And I encourage families to get over the hump because the other side is beautiful. That's the other side. We have teenagers who are working for us. We have teenagers who've been with us for the long haul. I mean, for our camp program, a former advanced student at Brooklyn Music Factory, and he's amazing, you know. So, you know, if you can get him over the hump, you can.
So they walk in.
Yeah.
You're playing a drum beat.
Yeah.
They pick up their drums.
Yeah.
And they start.
Yeah, we start playing. Yeah.
And then they kind of start riffing off, or it starts going somewhere.
I mean, that's how generally I like to start a class, and then we have lists and lists of games, drum circle games, rock pit games, and generally how it works is that you're teaching whatever you're teaching that day, a specific musical fluency. That's your thread throughout the class. So like for the littlest guys, if you're teaching them how to play on the first beat, you know, you're going to do that in the drum circle. You're going to play a bunch of games where you play on the one in the drum circle. And then you're going to stand up in the rock pit and you're going to do some movement games where maybe you like jump on poly spots on the beat of one, or move to the beat of one. And then you're going to get to the bandstand. You're going to strap a bass on a kid and you're going to do exactly what you were doing in the drum circle in the rock pit, but this time they've got an instrument in their hands and they're going to play that low E string on the one. This is the most basic example, but you can understand sort of how there's this thread through the class.
And it's so not boring because you're moving, you're changing things,
totally.
You're interacting.
Exactly. Not boring, and magically they've learned this concept without ever having the instrument in their hand until the very end. Because the last thing you want, trust me on this, is kids on a bandstand for 45 minutes or an hour. You do not want kids with a guitar in their hands for 45 minutes.
And at what age does that change, or does it not really?
I mean, our advanced bands definitely can spend more time on their instruments and dig a lot deeper. But with the little guys, I mean, 15 minutes tops, they have their instruments in their hand. The rest of the time they're playing games, they're learning the concepts, they're learning the musical fluencies, but in other ways. We call it disguised learning.
Yeah. So what do the kids do at home, or how does it change what's going on in terms of music in the family?
I love that you asked that. So, I mean, actually one of the cool things that we do is that we have a program that goes all the way up to adult. And our most ideal family is a family that's all taking music lessons together. We have a few of them.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, we have this one family where both parents play in adult bands and then both kids are taking lessons. And, you know, I know that they play at home together. The most magical moments to me are when a parent comes in and said, oh, my 2 kids are taking lessons here and they started jamming together at home, you know, spontaneously. And I mean, those are the things that just make me want to sob, you know, because it's amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of our, you know, values is build community, bring people together. I mean, that's a huge part of what we do.
Yeah.
God, bringing a family together. I mean, that's it, right? That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I when I hear stories like that, like, yeah, you know, me and my son, we're starting to just play together a bit and playing some cover songs or whatever, you know, writing doing some songwriting. I love it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the difference between music as a consumer versus as a whatever, as a, a collaborator, as
right.
a producer,
Yeah.
because I look at this a lot with, just with digital content in general.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people are really getting sucked into becoming heavy consumers. And
Yeah.
we're used to see like 100 years ago, people could sing.
Yeah.
Right. They would naturally use their voice instead of always listening to a radio station.
Right.
Right. They would just they generate their own music.
Yes.
And so now it's like, unless you're going to be a singer or a dancer or a musician, instead of no, this is a natural part of human connection and communication and expression and play.
Yes.
And
yeah. I mean, I truly believe that anybody should be given the opportunity to make music. Like, I don't ever say you're good, you're not good. I mean, to me, music is a form of expression. Music is a form of connection. I mean, listening to an MP3 in your earbuds, you're connecting to something. There's something that's connecting to you. I know that when I turn on music, I'm sitting on the subway in New York City and I put music in my ears, I'm feeling a connection to something. And that's bigger than myself, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a connection there. And then, put yourself in a room with other musicians. There's connecting there. And I can't remember the question. What was the question?
Well, I didn't really ask a question.
Yeah.
There's just sort of that, what's happened as
right.
we've gotten more plugged in,
right.
and downloading, and
yes.
less. Oh, I can use my my voice has
right.
a song. And I was listening to a teacher, and she was saying when you're stuck on something, just start to sing out the problem. Just start to sing it out.
Yeah.
Or when you have a challenge, make it into a question and sing out the question.
Yeah.
Just start to sing to oh, honey, the phone
yeah.
is wrong, and just starting to.
It changes your chemistry. I don't have biological. I don't have studies on that, but I can tell you it changes my chemistry. When I put those earbuds in, when I start playing my guitar, when I put something up on the radio, it changes my chemistry. It changes my kids' chemistry. The mood instantly changes. The mood lifts. The mood, whatever it is, I can feel it physically, and I don't know what that is. I would love to know what that is actually, biologically, what's happening.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
but it's beautiful. I love it. Yeah.
So with it's resonance, right? How it's it's in Sanskrit and in yoga and Ayurveda, that whole philosophy. It's it all comes from. The divine comes first through sound before it goes into denser manifestations of even touch is more dense than sound. Yeah. Right? And then smell is the most dense of the five senses, but the least dense, the most subtle, the most where the heavens come to meet earth is in vibrational sound. And so with that, it's you get that instant full body. It's how your bodies move. Yeah. Right?
I mean, when I used to teach kindergarten music. It's 30 kids in a classroom with me. And one of the first things I would do in the classroom is have everyone put their hand on their throat and feel what it felt like physically connect to the sound that's coming out of their mouth. And none of them knew that was happening. They would all be amazed, what is this? What am I feeling? But to have them physically connect in that way was.
Oh, there's this mudra. It's the humming. Where you put your thumbs in your ears, and have you done that one where you you touch your sense organs and then you make that sound, and just for people to be able to feel their own vibration, and how good that is for anxiety and depression and all these sort of nervous system issues where the internal vibration is out of sync, right, or blocked, stagnant, and I think this whole thing of the play and that instruments are everywhere, instruments are our voice, instruments are our hands, beating our thigh. To me, this is so much of humans getting back in touch with being human after the just the challenges of the Industrial Revolution and then the information, whatever, the information economy, and now it's we're in the sort of hyper stimulation economy, right? And there's just this sense of getting back in touch with our.
Yeah, I mean, so there's lots of times I'm home with my kids. I have 2 small children, and I'll be feeling maybe burnt out. It's a long day, and then I've come home and everybody's tired. And so many times I forget to turn on music. And when I remember to turn on music, I'm so happy. I'm like, why didn't I do that sooner? And my son, who's 18 months old, has learned how to press play on this Sonos, so it automatically plays. So now he does it for us, which is awesome. He just climbs up and he does it. And every time he does it, I'm like, oh yeah, thank you. That's what we needed.
So what is a game that people can play at home with? I mean, I know there's a lot of different age groups and games or whatever, but can you throw a few out there?
Absolutely. So let's see. What is a good one to describe? One that's really fun is this game that we played, Crazy Conductor. So it's a way to get kids use their listening skills and start communicating musically, as we were talking about earlier. And so basically how it works is that there's 4 signs that the conductor uses to indicate whether you're playing louder, softer, slower, or faster. And one of the teaching moments that I often have to do in this game is like, louder is not the same thing as faster, and softer is not the same thing as slower. Oftentimes those things get mixed up.
Oh, I can understand that.
Yes, and there's no words allowed. So the conductor is only using his or her body. So lifting his or her arms up is louder, lifting his or her arms down is softer, and then sort of like pulling a piece of bubble gum, stretching it out from your fingertips is slower, and then rolling your hands around in a circle is faster. And then there's stop, which is just make your fist. So I guess there's 5. But it's one of the first games that I play with kids when they come in the classroom.
And what are they playing? Are they playing on drums?
Yes, they're playing on hand drums, but I have played it on the bandstand before. Primarily it's used in the drum circle, but I've tried it in different areas of the classroom as well. But it's a great way to just get them start talking musically.
Yeah.
And
are other teachers bringing it into their school classrooms?
We,
whether you're just like doing it on your legs or making a sound.
That's a great idea, actually.
I mean, I can just see. I mean, I just know a little bit about different. We're going to take a quick break and then be back with the rest of the interview. Again, this episode is brought to you by the Healthier Kids Workshop at yogahealer.com. Just go to yogahealer.com/healthier-kids. That tip I just gave you about the skin. Now, if you look at your kids' skin and tongue and their poop, you have 3 massive signs for what's going on in their body. You can learn how to interpret what's going on so you can prevent problems before they occur. Dried skin is a dried out lymph system. It's a dehydrated, toxic lymph system, which will lead to a cold or a flu or allergies or immune issues. So what you'll learn in this workshop is so much more about how to tell what's going on, from what is going on in your kid's skin, what's going on in their tongue, so you can start to read their tongue and their breath, and so you can start to read their poop for signs of imbalances. All right, check it out at yogahealer.com/healthier-kids. Back to the show.
That's a great idea, actually.
I mean, I can just see. I mean, I just know a little bit about different. My husband's, he was an undiagnosed dyslexic and a kinesthetic focus zone type of learner. My daughter's I believe she's the same, but maybe just slightly less on that scale of like completely kinesthetic.
Yeah.
But I can see those transitions. One of the things that Deanna Markova discovered in her work in collaborative intelligence was like, if you want those kinesthetic kids to focus on something visual, like you're going to write on the board, you better do something physical and then transition that to visual. Because if you just go right into visual, like they're going to start picking their nose and stomping their foot and trying to get up to go to the bathroom. And they're just going to start fidgeting, like, because they don't know how to transition their focus. So I can just see little tools like using sound for the kids that are auditory focused, of like using listening and repeating.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, it's the rare child who doesn't need to connect physically to what they're doing.
Right.
I've rarely met a kid who doesn't benefit from that.
So that's why when they come in, you don't start talking. You just start doing. And I think that's such a hint for like a lot of parents who even transitioning to sitting down at the dinner table.
Yeah.
It's like time to eat. Like, can we get into can we shift states often?
Yeah.
And we use words way too much to try to affect change.
Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of just starting to send messages, particularly in our music classroom, just sending messages through music. This is what we do here. We communicate through music.
Oh, give an example of that.
One of the things that we do is we play. Well, another game is we play. On the bandstand where they do this fire drill, and like each kid gets to play. This is really when the kids first get in the classroom. They're like, "I'm dying to play all those instruments, right? So we do our drum circle, we do our rock pit, and then they get on the bandstand and they do a fire drill, which is where they get to like play for 30 seconds, 30 seconds hits, and then they run to the next instrument and they get to play for 30 seconds again. And they get that like chunk of time. Once again, no talking, play for 30 seconds. Usually I'll identify a certain chord.
What's the signal for them to transition?
I mean, generally it's just just a visual like fists, you know?
So their eyes are on you while they're playing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just give them fists and then I'll point and
so they're getting used to like following a conductor.
Totally.
Yeah.
And when you're playing in a band, a lot of the communication is just eye contact and audio cues. You know, you guys come in as soon as the drummer does that fill, you know. Or, you know, we cut out when I give you the eye contact.
Yeah, like that.
Or there's that, you know, you see musicians on stage like just giving themselves the eye, like, is this when we change? Right? Yeah. Those are skills you need. You're not shouting at each other across the stage when you're in the middle of a gig, right? Yeah. You're using audio cues, you're using visual cues. And so this is just the beginning of those tools.
Yeah.
And so these kids, give them the fist, 30 seconds, run to the next instrument. Usually I identify one particular chord that they're all going to play. Like probably for the littlest guys it would be an E because it's really easy. It's an open E string on the bass, open E string on the guitar, E on the piano. Maybe your vocalist just hums or la-las or something like that.
So there's multiple, like they're learning all these different tools, like they're learning all these different instruments. So let's talk a little bit about that approach as opposed to how most of us learn, which is like you pick an instrument and then you're married to that and you're always bandstanding the entire time and it's super boring and it's all about perfectionism. So
what we have now is, you know, this has been tested over some time and we've tweaked it and gotten better at it. So the few changes that we've made is now we have something called exploration bands, which is where kids who just want to explore. And then we have something called position bands where it's the kids who are ready to commit to a certain instrument because we want to give those kids who are committed the opportunity to commit. And so though we have those two offerings, and then there's a certain point in the kids' musical journey where they do need to identify a certain instrument and play that instrument. And then there's only position bands from that point
but that's
on.
not where they start. Like I think that's
they start,
thing.
all kids start at the exploration level. Yeah.
And adults?
That's a good question. You know, our adult bands, I feel like we haven't refined the curriculum enough. And I am so glad you asked me that question because it highlights the fact that I need to identify the answer to that question. You know, we've had a lot of adults come in who have had a little musical experience and they want to revisit it and they want to get back into it. But that's a good question. You're forcing me to look at that. The other thing that we've changed is that now all bands are learning through songwriting. And it used to be that the bands did cover songs, but now the reason that we moved to songwriting is two primary reasons. Reason number one is that instead of teaching to the song, when you teach like Yellow Submarine, you're confined to Yellow Submarine and what that song teaches. Yep. But if you're teaching to songwriting, going back to our example before, playing on the one, today we're going to write a song that is primarily just playing on the one. Or if you're teaching, E chords, today we're going to, how to play an E chord. So songwriting you can teach the musical fluency as opposed to teaching to the song. And the second reason that we moved to songwriting is the motivation factor. Kids are so much more invested in their own originals. We've been doing it all summer long. Yeah, we've been doing it all summer long with our camp. And they are so much more invested. They're going home. Parents are telling me they're starting to write material at home. They're making posters for their original songs. They're naming their original songs. The level of investment, once again, motivation to learn, is so much greater. So that's another big shift that we've made.
That makes so much sense to me because Indy's 9 and she started writing songs and writing little music to go with it, with lyrics and, just like the whole thing. So she's got piano and then she's got her voice.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, cool, we'll give you, have you take some lessons. But then they went right to other songs and she actually got disconnected.
Yeah.
So I really understand this approach of, and this to me also goes back to like, we are an instrument. Yeah. We have a natural desire to express and create, and we've been sort of indoctrinated into the.
Yeah. So what we've built is this musical fluency guide, which is basically a guide of what we want kids to know, learn at each level via songwriting. via songwriting games, via games in the classroom. So connecting all the dots of what we do, but making sure it's through songwriting so kids are really motivated and emotionally connected to what they're doing.
So with the bands then, though, are they then creating their own songs as a band?
Yeah, it's amazing. I got to tell you, it's one of the most humbling things to hear 6-year-olds write like a killer song. Because I, as a almost 42-year-old woman, I have so many formulas that now I stick to in my own songwriting life, and things that I'm stuck on. And you hear them write a song, and you're like, damn, like they just broke all the rules, and it's amazing.
Wow.
You know, I mean, lyrically, in terms of form, like verse, chorus. In me, it's automatically verse, chorus, bridge. You know, why would they do that? They don't need verse, chorus, bridge. You know, and the storylines of the songs are original, are unbelievable. I remember this one group from summer camp wrote a song about a volcano that was spewing diamonds, and how
That is
like
so
it was
cool.
filling this volcano was
it
was filling the sky with diamonds, and it was like this amazing song, and it had a hook. It had a great hook. I was singing it in my head all weekend long. Yeah.
If you can get the recording of that, we'll put it in the show.
Oh, we have recordings of all the originals.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need permissions to just let me know.
No, I think it's good.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
So tell me, just tell everyone listening in terms of, because you guys are now creating online content.
Yeah.
And when is that? Is it live now? Is it going
It is.
live?
Yeah. bigmusicgames.com. And these are games that you can play at home. So they are the games that we implement in the classroom in a digital form, in a fun form. I've used them. My daughter plays them. Simple games like how to hear major and minor chords. And it's just at the beginning stages, but we're getting wonderful response. The biggest compliment that I can get from a 7-year-old playing our game is when they're playing major minor and the face is going down because they're not getting it, and they're going no, and they're invested, and they want the happy face, not the sad face. And I actually have video of some kids playing the games, just is so invested, and they're like, no, go down. So you can't really
so they pick it up quick because they want to learn it.
Yeah, and they're invested. Yeah.
They
They want that big smiley face. They don't want the sad minor face. They want the smiley major face.
No, it's how we work, right?
Yeah.
It's like that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, any other just closing thoughts on people wanting to bring more music into their homes?
Oh, God. I mean, I would just say, you know what I would say? Leave the judgment out the door. There's a lot of feeling like I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing it perfectly. I'm not a good singer. I'm not a good player.
And that's that whole old education thing. I mean, that's what I remember. It's there's a right way to do all, and it never got creative for me. It was always just trying to go to Mozart or Beethoven with the clarinet.
Yes, and I would actually encourage people to write crappy songs. Just free yourself and let yourself just write crappy songs. Write some pop songs. Yeah. Just free yourself to just be no judgment zone. No judgment. Yeah, and just jam with your family. I don't care if people come out of our music school making music by the campfire with their family or playing at Madison Square Garden. We're not trying to create rock stars. We're trying to create musicians for life.
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to follow up on that non-judgment part. I wrote the Awake Living manuscript, and it's rough. It needs to be heavily edited. I have no. But I wrote it fast. Yeah. And that was my one requirement. Is I will not judge what I'm writing as I'm writing it. I'm just gonna get it out. And it was so joy-filled and liberating because I've always held myself in a tighter box. Yeah. I was trained that way. It's the way I see it. Yeah. And I'm finally on learning how to be creative. Yeah. So that it can just flow. Yeah. And it's a hard thing to do, to let yourself go in that way. Yeah, but it gets easier too. By the end, I was like, blah, blah, and then it's so fun. It's kind of funny that it takes practice to be free. Commitment. Yeah, yeah. It takes practice and discipline to be free, but it's totally true. Yeah, yeah. Awesome, Peira.
Thank you.
The Music Factory and bigmusicgames.com.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. I hope you enjoyed today's show with Peira Moinester of Brooklyn Music Factory. They're giving us a coupon. If you go to bigmusicgames.com, if you want your kids to learn music in their way, BMG Yoga is the coupon code, and you'll get 25% off a monthly subscription for life. That's bigmusicgames.com. The code is BMG Yoga. BMGY are all capitalized. OGA is not. And we'll have the links and the coupon in the show notes. Have a wonderful week. And if your kids aren't healthy, just take the Healthier Kids Workshop. There's so much we can do. I see it all the time. Winston and I were talking the other day just about how much other people spend on their children's wellness. And it's like, wow, you almost spend nothing. Because if you have the knowledge, you can prevent so much. All right. Wishing you a happy, healthy school year. Bye-bye.
Yoga Healer Real Life Show with Kate Stillman. Yoga Healer.